Namaste. Welcome to Bhakti Yoga Conference 2026. Sacred community, walking the path of love together. I'm Happy Jack, founder of Happy Jack Yoga, and our host for today. And this is our second annual gathering, bringing together over 40 beautiful souls. Some are monks, some are scholars, some are musicians, some are spiritual leaders, and really beautiful souls from around the world. We opened the conference at Harvard Divinity School a couple of weeks ago. Our final gathering will be at the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies, and together we get to explore how devotion and sacred community really supports us in this path of Bhakti Yoga. As of now, we got well over 6,000 beautiful souls who have registered for the conference, from Harvard students to Bhakti Yoga practitioners to yoga teachers and spiritual seekers from around the globe. And really, this is meant to be a space for spiritual friendship, for shared inquiry, and heartfelt conversation. For those live with us, please leave a message in the chat. Let us know where you're calling in from. Those who are watching the replay, the majority, thank you for being here with us. Wherever you are, just appreciate your presence. It's now our honor to welcome to the virtual stage Sri Prahlada. I'll say a few words and then we'll officially bring him on here. Sri Prahlada is a lifelong practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, whose life reflects the transformative power of mantra meditation and spiritual community. Raised in ashram schools in Australia and India, he began his practice from an early age. At age 12, he recorded songs for peace, including Mr. Gorbachev, Let Our Friends Go, as part of a campaign that helped secure the release of imprisoned Bhakti practitioners in the USSR, leading to a recording contract with EMI. For 18 years, he traveled globally with Indradyumna Swami, leading kirtan and supporting the development in spiritual communities across 6 continents. He holds a PhD in management and teaches leadership and organizational behavior in New York, with research focused on compassion and community. Wow, love it. His work brings together lived experience and insight, inviting others to experience Bhakti Yoga as a path to inner clarity, connection, and transformation. Today we are honored to welcome Sri Prahlada for a conversation. Friends, if you are ready to welcome Sri Prahlada to the virtual stage, please throw your arms in the air and loudly chant, Haribol! Honored to have you here with us, Prabhu. If you just hit the unmute button there. Welcome to Bhakti Yoga Conference.
It's an honor to be with you. An honor to be with you all. Wonderful souls. And that was such a beautiful introduction, even not just when you're speaking about me, but when you're introducing the community and the conference and everyone who's involved. It was very, very moving and touching, and I feel honored to have this opportunity to be with you and to share in this space.
Wow. Well, thank you for your beautiful words and your beautiful presence. The honor is all ours. You know, many of us are new to Bhakti. Some of us are just discovering it here in the conference. Some, like myself, it's been a few years, but still quite new. You know, you were born into the tradition, essentially. And so one of the first questions we love to ask our guests is really the origin story. How did you end up here? You were born into it, you know, but each of us still, I understand from those even who are born into it, there still tends to be like a moment where you really own it for yourself. It's not just something that, you know, you inherited, but something that you chose. Do you remember a moment or how that happened when you said, yes, this is me, I'm giving my life to it in the way that you have? Oh, I'll bring you off mute again, sorry.
There we are. Okay, so unmuted. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that invitation to share. Let me just inform you before I begin, is that my daughter is sitting across from me, and she might make she's just a couple of months old. She might make some sounds as we talk, so she looks fine for now.
We would love to hear those divine sounds. No worries.
And she's peaceful for now, but we'll see how things go.
Cool.
Okay, so my story began with my father actually living in an ashram prior to my birth in Australia. And then he didn't stay. He returned to New Zealand to his family and friends, circle of friends. And I was born shortly afterwards. So just 1 second here.
Yeah, yeah.
Guitar.
I love it. I love we got
You're
just a
okay.
few-month-old baby here, part of our sacred community. What a space.
Grandma just stepped out, so you should be back, but yeah,
Okay.
we're fine for now. Um, so I was born in Wellington, New Zealand. There was no ashram
Yeah.
at the time in Wellington, but my father and his friends were on a spiritual journey, and he had already lived in the ashram, so we had ashram practices in our home. So we were vegetarian. There was chanting, and I would wake up and see him meditating under a tree in the morning, as I looked out my window. And then when I was just turned 5, he decided we're going to move into the ashram. Just hold the space back. I think grandma's in the next room, and we'll manage things here. Just a second.
Yeah, yeah. We'll just take care of the beautiful little baby. We're on the edge of our seats. But I just hearing about that, like how incredible, being a child and hearing your parents meditating, seeing your parents meditating. What an example. I love my parents. They do great.
Yeah,
Love them to death.
yeah,
And meditation was not a part of my upbringing,
right.
So that what a
Yeah,
beautiful experience.
yeah. And so, we had Bhagavad Gita in the home. I would look at pictures. I couldn't read, obviously, but I could see the pictures and I would ask questions. And yeah, so right from a very age, I was deeply embedded and introduced in a beautiful way to the Gita wisdom and the chanting. So one particular experience that I remember playing with a friend in front of our house, playing by a tree, and I was singing the Maha Mantra. Sorry, he was singing the Maha Mantra, and I said, "That's not a song; it's a chant." And he said, "No, it's a song." And I was like, "No, but it's a chant because my dad chants it in the morning." And he was like, "No, but it's a song because we have a record of it with George Harrison singing it." So I went to my dad and said, actually, we went together to have our disputes settled. Is it a song or a chant? And he said, "Boys, it's both." And I spent the rest of the day in the park in front of our house, approaching people and telling them, "There's this mantra, and you can engage with it as a song or as a chant." It's wonderful. So you have a choice. You can chant it like this, and I'll chant it for them, or you can sing it. And yeah, and so yeah, right from a very early age, I was introducing people to the chanting, and that's something that I still do today in yoga studios and ashrams around the world. We introduce people to chanting as japa meditation or as kirtan as well.
So was
When I
it
was
from that moment, would you say, was it just like seamless from that
mm,
moment on, or was there like when you were a little bit more mature, a little bit able to make like decisions for the future of yourself, did you say, I'm all in? Or was it really from the
no,
beginning?
it was I think I was very much in at a
Nice.
very, very young age.
Beautiful.
Um, yeah, eventually my father said to me, "We're going to join the ashram." So I had 2 questions. I said, "Do they have holidays?" I was just starting school. And I said, and are they disciplined? Like, are they strong? And he said, "The monks are the strongest, and every day's a holiday. It's a holy day." So I was convinced. And yeah, I would enjoy meeting guests coming to our ashram and introducing them to to the community and showing them around and telling them stories. And then at 5, moved to Australia because we had an ashram school there.
Okay.
Just started, so there were 9 students. That school still exists today. It's a beautiful community, 5,000 acres.
Wow.
And I think like 150 children in the school, all the way through from primary through to high school. But yeah, in my time, it just started. It was a beautiful experience because it was just 5 or 6 children. We were learning under a tree pretty much. That was our classroom. Eventually, we got more facility,
Yeah.
a physical classroom, and then dormitory, and then buildings, and the campus was built out over the years. And then when I was 9, I'd heard about the school in India, and I wanted to move to Vrindavan. So you're asking, when I made my commitment. I think it's many many moments of reaffirming commitment. So I'd heard about the ashram school in Vrindavan, which is a sacred place, a pilgrimage, as you know, Krishna's appearance place 5,000 years ago. And so I lobbied my parents and school teachers and others to be allowed to be sent there. It was a dormitory school. So yeah, I was successful. I was and yeah, so you're asking, when I made the commitment. So our small ashram school in Australia, I felt it was too soft to I wanted that monk's discipline, like that question that I asked my dad: Are they disciplined? And he said they're the strongest. So then we moved into the ashram and to that school, and I felt it was too gentle. I wanted a disciplined monk's practice, maybe from a previous life. I don't know. So I sought that in India and Vrindavan, and then later in Mayapur. So the school in Mayapur, we had mud earth floors and bamboo walls and thatched roofs, and we brought our water from a well and cooked over open fire. It was a very simple, traditional ashram environment. We did Agnihotra. We learned to recite the Vedas with meter and Sanskrit and Gita. And yeah, actually, that was what I was looking for. Even when I asked my dad, are they disciplined? I was actually looking for that. Yeah. So yeah, perhaps a previous life. But to your question, about a philosophical decision, I was learning the philosophy. We had 2-hour philosophy class every day. We would learn the logic of the practice, and then the evidences of different, Vedic texts, and then the practicality of how to undertake the practice. Teenage years is maybe when you start to question more. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's what you were asking about. Did I have a time of questioning? And I think that's natural, that you'll have a time of questioning if you grow up in a tradition or with certain practices. But for me as a child, these were just, I didn't question it. It was the reality. Everything I learned, I just understood to be the way things are. Right. I didn't doubt. As a teenager, then I started, to develop more critical reasoning skills and to try to understand things for myself more. Mm-hmm. And in terms of, to understand things more for myself, and then to better be able to explain them to others as well. When I was 12, I wrote to a teacher and asked to be formally accepted as his student. Maybe that was a moment of decision. I'd been listening to his talks. He's an American, Kridananda Goswami. I've been listening to his talks on campuses in US universities, and I loved his logic and the way he presented things in a very rational way.
Yeah.
And so maybe that affirmed my own conviction. And I decided he's my teacher. He's the one who's really opening up this for me that I can understand rationally, as opposed to just accepting what I've been told in my childhood. And so maybe that was my moment of decision. I was initiated formally by him just a couple of years after that, as a disciple. And that's when we take vows, right? We take vows to chant the Maha Mantra as a japa practice every day, a certain number of times. So we have a mala with 108 beads, and we take a vow to chant a certain number of times around the mala each day, chanting the full mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I know you know this, but I'm also speaking for the community that you have invited here, because I know that you are also an initiated practitioner.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, you've shared so many beautiful things. Like, first, I appreciate that you had this like connection with the discipline at the ashram. You know, there's something about that. I wouldn't have been ready for it earlier in life, but now at this kind of more ripe stage, like there's something about like being in India, being in an ashram, waking up early, you know, kind of like hearing the philosophy and actually just like craving the discipline. So I appreciate that you bring that up. And I just want to say as well, Hridayananda Goswami, amazing teacher. Oh my God, I've seen so many videos of him. He's like wicked smart. And so just like, yeah, just the way he explains it. I've seen some incredible videos of him. So what a teacher to have.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, to the ashram then. Let's like stay there for a short period of time. There's the teaching. So you're learning in an ashram from a teacher, but then there's the practice. So you're applying the teaching with sadhana, like chanting and prayer and reciting sacred texts or mantras. And then there's the seva, service. So, like for me, I had a part of the school that I was responsible for cleaning every day. That was my portion of, I had that responsibility. That it wasn't that big as I, think back now, but at the time it seemed quite a sizable portion of the school that I was responsible for keeping clean. So every morning I would go out with a broom, and there were lots of kadamba trees. A kadamba tree, it's a tree with a beautiful round yellow flower, like a ball, and very big leaves. So the leaves would fall in the night, and that whole area would be buried under the kadamba leaves and the flowers that would drop. And so I would be out there every morning sweeping, putting the leaves in baskets and carrying them out and to the compost area. And so another important element of ashram life is seva, engaging in service. Because while you're doing seva, you develop a humility to receive guidance. It's also a time to reflect on what you have been learning and what you have been experiencing, to reflect on your practice. And then there's also learning in bhakti, like learning wisdom, spiritual wisdom. It's not just academic. It's not that you learn so much information and then go and take a quiz or an exam. I am a teacher, a professor in the university. So it's not that type of learning. It's also revelation. We show our eagerness and our interest to learn, and we apply what we have learned to show also our commitment, and that it's not just intellectual, but it's a practice. And then in the practice, and in the seva, the humble service, there's revelation, there's insight and grace that's given to us. And that's when the heart transforms. Wow. Yeah, intellectual knowledge, academic knowledge alone doesn't transform the heart. It's the revelation that becomes realization. That's where the heart is opened and sweetened, softened in a bhakti practice. And I'm linking this to ashram life.
Yeah. Can I just ask, I don't know if you remember, but we've had one conversation, and it was, I don't even know if you would remember, but it was a year ago at Sadhu Sangha, and standing at the back of the room, and I had heard that you had a PhD, and I just finished the master's, was thinking about it, and I was asking you questions about that. And we were having a very natural, like, you were just very generous with your time, a very heart-centered conversation. We completed, and then you gradually walked up to the front and then went on stage and led kirtan for like thousands of people. And it was just so, like, it was just so comfortable and natural for you. And I guess my question is around humility and around this idea of seva. Like, many of us, to get on stage or to do something in front of thousands of people, we get nervous. There's the, am I going to make a mistake, or whatever insecurities might be there. But it just struck me, and it really stuck with me, that we were just having this really casual, like, just nice conversation. And then after it completed, you just went up and did that thing. And so I guess the question is around you've clearly been doing this for a lot of years. What gives you the ability, what has helped you, do these kinds of things, these bigger sevas, you could say, and not be in your head, not be worrying what other people think, like just really doing it to serve others?
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that conversation.
Yeah.
I do remember now that you mention it. And to your question, I've thought about this a lot. Been nervous to go before others, as a teacher, as a kirtan singer, and my realization and experience is that I can approach it in two different ways. If I go to impress my audience, my students, then I'm more likely to be nervous, because I'm putting the energy on me. Like, I'm the center here.
Right.
I want to show my brilliance, my virtuosity. I want them to like me. Will they like me? And then, it brings the doubt. Like, will they like me? Will they appreciate what I'm offering here? So that creates the nervousness, and the fear and the angst. And I can go with a different attitude. And this is what I try to remember to do every time. Just to pause, hold space, and check in with my intention, and to pray to be in a mood of service. Who's here? What is this moment? Why have they come? And how can I be of service to them in this moment? And it takes the pressure off me,
Yeah.
right? It takes the pressure off me. I'm offering it to my participants. I'm offering the attention to them. Like I'm focused on them rather than on myself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I find that allows me to be more authentic and more at ease,
Yeah.
and and I end up giving a better quality experience to those people that I'm there to serve and support as well.
I love that. I mean, it's so right. It feels right. And I guess my question is, so you've said you offer a prayer to be in the mood of service, put your attention on how can I serve. I get that intellectually,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it works, and sometimes I still get in my head, for example. So is I guess the question, is it enough? Is that all, or do you think it has also been compounded with like years of practicing bhakti, that it's kind of this lived experience for some period of time with, oh yes, let me get centered in the prayer and why I'm here, and then really being able to embody it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we talk about yoga on the mat and off the mat, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're when you're leading a kirtan or you're leading a presentation, maybe that's your on the mat, and but then there's off the mat, and um, all of your practice every day, your authentic practice of bhakti is what you then bring to that moment. It's not a performance. It's not a show or an exhibition. You're wanting to be there as in service, but also as an agent of mercy. And you'll find you speak to anyone, any teacher of bhakti, any kirtan leader, they'll tell you there are times when it feels that I'm not speaking. The words are being given to me. I'm there, but I'm being engaged. I'm being used. There are sincere souls before me, and they're sincerely on a bhakti journey, and I come with an attitude of service, and then Krishna uses me in that moment. And you can ask this question across the board, and any teacher will tell you that they have that experience.
Wow.
And the same with kirtan. So it's also about trying to get yourself out of the way, right? You want to get your ego out. Like, I don't want to be the barrier here
Yeah.
between Krishna's grace and divine grace and these souls. Let me be the fluid, the channel, the clear channel.
That's so beautiful. Could you actually just say something about kirtan? I'm just seeing, some of our friends here, many of them have never experienced kirtan. We've been hearing
Mm-hmm.
about it. Maybe, Mayapuris and Janavi gave us a little taste, and Kishori Gopi. But like in those moments when people are sitting and chanting together, and you've done it with many people, how does the sound, how does it kind of create connection between people with the divine? What exactly is happening? Why are we sitting there? For those of us maybe who are newer, it's like it feels good but don't fully understand it. For those who have not experienced it yet, what's going on in kirtan?
Yeah. We don't need to understand it. Prabhupada would make that point, right? It's actually in the Bhagavatam. It says just like a medicine that you take, you don't necessarily have to know how it works, but you take it. If you have a particular condition, you take the right medicine, there'll be cure. And so the Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada would repeat that analogy. He would say, this is a transcendental process, and you apply it and you will experience a cure that is a purification of the heart, an awakening of joy, of bliss. We experience it differently according to our needs as well at a given time, a given situation. What is it? Yoga.
Nice.
It's connection. Yeah, so the yoga is happening at many levels. When we chant, we're connecting just at a biological level. We're connecting with our breath, voice, breath. We're connecting with other human beings in the room. Our voices are connecting. Neurologically, if we could do a brain scan in that moment, we'd see in time as we start to breathe together, singing the same mantra in the same time. Then we start to breathe together, our neurons start to fire together. So we experience connection there. We're connecting with, and then most importantly, the tradition emphasizes the transcendental aspect. We're connecting with the divine through sound. So Shabda Brahma means transcendental sound. We're connecting, so the Shabda Brahma, or transcendental sound, is a medium that is emphasized in the Bhakti tradition. And not only the spiritual tradition, the Vedic traditions of India emphasize the medium of sacred sound as penetrating through layers of conditioning. Right. We're covered like an onion. Sometimes that example is given, like an onion. So there are many, many layers of conditioning. But rather than it being empty in the center, in the Bhakti tradition, there is a pure soul there that has been covered over. There's a pearl in the oyster. And so you take away those layers of covering, that jewel is revealed, that treasure is revealed. The most subtle of all the elements is sound. Right? When you're asleep, there might be smells in the room. There might be someone might be eating something in the other room. You don't taste it, you don't smell it, you don't see it, you don't. But if there's a noise, you'll hear it. You go, we set an alarm clock, right? Unless we have an internal alarm clock, can do that as well. But otherwise, it's the sound that penetrates through our sleep. And so that example is given that with transcendental sound. What do we mean by transcendental sound? Different types of sounds have different qualities. Some sounds will make you scared. I told you earlier that my daughter's in the room. A few days ago, someone dropped something in the other room and she became scared. I hadn't seen her scared like that before. But it was some dropping in the kitchen, and the sound created fear. So some sounds make us afraid. Some sounds make us angry. Turn on the radio, you might hear sounds that make you angry. Some sounds make us feel kind of light and jolly. And so the yoga tradition emphasizes spiritual sound as having an effect of an awakening our spiritual consciousness.
Wow.
So what is spiritual sound? We can go to that question next. There are different mantras given in the Vedic teachings. They'll all be classified as spiritual sound. The Veda is apurushraya, not of human origin. That's how it is traditionally understood. So these different Vedic mantras, they're classified as spiritual sound, eternal spiritual sound. Within that, then Chaitanya, 500 years ago, and the Bhagavata tradition gives particular emphasis to the names of the divine. So that when we say the name of the divine, the divine will manifest, be fully present in the name. So Chaitanya, he said, very beautiful, Nam namakari bahuda nija sarva shaktish. My Lord, you have millions of names, and within those names, you have invested, within each of those names, you've invested your full potency. So what are the names? The names glorify the qualities and the attributes of the divine in different spiritual traditions. The name of the divine is glorified, and glorified as Almighty, glorified as Creator, glorified as Maintainer, glorified as Father, glorified as embodied compassion, kindness. So these are names glorifying the qualities of the Absolute. And the Chaitanya particularly emphasized the names Krishna. And why? Because some names, they glorify aspects of God, like Creator, for example. So Creator of the worlds, a majestic performance or activity of the divine. Other names glorify more intimate aspects of the divine. So the name Krishna means all attractive. Someone might call you Happy Jack, so you have that quality of happiness, right? We might be complimented, oh, you're so smart, or you're so generous, or you're so beautiful or handsome. So these are different qualities of that we might use to glorify a person, to compliment somebody. This name Krishna encompasses all of that. It says that the divine is unlimitedly beautiful, unlimitedly wise, unlimitedly compassionate, unlimitedly merciful, unlimitedly strong, unlimitedly renounced, like all of that in one beautiful name.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're such a natural teacher. We could just sit here and receive your wisdom all day. I want to just bring it back to our theme of the conference, this idea of sacred community, walking the path of love together. You've lived in ashrams in Australia, in India, traveled the world, supported spiritual seekers, many different cultures. What do you feel, what is the essence of true spiritual community? So beyond, simply gathering together or living in a place together, proximity, what is the essence of spiritual community?
Yeah. A few things that I would offer.
Yeah.
At a very foundational level, the Bhakti tradition would emphasize as a basis for community understanding that we are all spiritual beings and that we are all parts of the divine. So that's a foundation, that when we have that appreciation, and there'll be a natural respect for every living being, everything as part of the divine, and every living being as spirit. That means eternal, full of knowledge inherently, and blissful by nature. Those are the qualities of spirit, and that is present within every living being. The Gita says that a wise person, a pandit, and we have that word has entered the English lexicon, pandit. The Gita says a pandit is somebody who sees the divine in all living beings. And it gives a list of some, just as an example. Brahmane, a priest; Gavi, a cow; Hasti, an elephant; a dog, Svapaka; and it says even one who eats dogs. So that's quite an interesting descriptor. But he says the Gita says, Sama Darshina, the wise person, the Pandit sees them equally spiritually. Yeah. So the equality obviously is not physiological, because the elephant is so much bigger than the human or the dog. The human is more intelligent. The what else was mentioned there? The cow has its own qualities. So there's the equality is not material or physiological, it's metaphysical. It's a metaphysical equality that is a spiritual equality. And so we can appreciate equality and difference, or oneness and difference at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a key Gita teaching that I would say is foundational to community. Appreciate what we all have in common. There's a basic level of respect for all living beings as parts of the divine, deserving of our respect, and we can approach them with an attitude of service.
Yeah. Can I just ask quick on that?
Yeah.
I love that verse, and I do my best to live by it. Have you ever met anybody like truly who embodies that fully and like sees every living being as equally and doesn't prioritize, doesn't, give a little bit more attention to this person and that person? Like really, have you, are they walking the planet today?
I don't know that it necessarily means what you just described, as in giving equal attention to every entity. Because, so yeah, I was just a couple of days ago, there's a tree. I live next to Central Park. So there's a tree that I check in with pretty much every day, actually. It's like 180 years old. And so I just go over and just appreciate that tree, that it's been standing there for so long, so deeply rooted and grounded. And how much has this tree seen and experienced? Like how much has the world changed around it? Probably the tree was there. I don't know how old Central Park is. So it was probably there before the park. It's an English elm. And so I was standing before this tree the other day and just checking in. And then at one moment I had this sense that this tree is actually senior to me by age.
Yeah.
Right? So my general condition is that, human, the abundant species. And so I go out in the world and I have this sense of, in a hierarchy, of a superiority. But here, in this moment, I had a realization, maybe in terms of a hierarchy of species, the human is higher, but here in terms of age, at least, this tree is my senior. And in that moment, I had this I didn't do it in public, but I had a feeling I wanted to bow to this tree and really just show my respect for my senior, at least in terms of age, right? Age and experience. I might be senior in terms of my human capacity and intelligence, perhaps. So we can see things. We can have different ways of seeing the same thing and appreciating it. So it doesn't mean necessarily, I'm speaking about equal attention, right? Equal attention, seeing all living beings as equal doesn't mean necessarily that we deal with them equally. I have my daughter here in the apartment and the tree is out there in the park. That's the appropriate place for each of them, right? Yeah. But are there souls that really have that consciousness? I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. Wow. Really, when you come in contact with them, you'll have an experience of being seen.
Yeah.
And not just seen with the eyes, but seen with the heart. and you'll feel that love and respect.
Yeah. Wow, beautiful. I feel it.
Mm, mm,
I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to open up
mm,
for audience Q&A. So we have a lot of yoga teachers, newer seekers here with us. If you could offer one blessing, one prayer, one wish, for everyone listening, something to guide us on our journey, this spiritual journey, what would it be? What would you wish for
mm,
us?
mm. Yeah, I wish for everyone here to go deeper into the heart, to learn to see with the heart, which is the resting place of the self in Bhakti tradition. That is the place of the self, the Atma, and it is the medium through which we connect with the Supreme as well. Bhakti is a practice of the heart. Doesn't mean that it's not intellectual and informed by a profound teaching, but it is practiced at the level of the heart. And so that's what I wish, that our hearts awaken in love and service and compassion and kindness, for the self, for each other, and for the divine.
Wow, I love that. I feel like slowly, again, being newer on the path, I feel that is my experience. Like there's like a softening of the heart, and it just feels right. There's something about bhakti, the practice, the people, the philosophy, everything. I was saying the other day, I haven't had any red flags. There's no reason, like nothing saying, whoa, don't go here, don't go there. I just kind of keep taking one step forward, and it feels right. And meeting, beautiful souls like yourself that clearly embody, just been living these teachings for so many years. It's really appreciate your wisdom and your association today, Prabhu. But let us check in with audience. If anyone has any questions, raise your virtual hand. Otherwise, I'm always happy to call on. I feel like I want to check on Shraddhanjali. You've been like very engaged, sitting there with the biggest smile the whole time. And what is reflections? What is on your heart? Welcome back to Bhakti Yoga
Thank you.
Conference.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. Sri Prahlad, your kirtans have been part of the soundtrack of my life. Really beautiful. And I just so appreciate everything you've been saying today.
Yeah.
I that the community, when you're singing together, is there's nothing like it in the world. There's
Mm,
once you've been, for those who haven't been in like a rousing kirtan in a temple or somewhere on the street or somewhere that like the vibe is there, um material stuff just pales. I mean that
mhm.
feeling. And your kirtans have really drawn that out. I have found in my life. So thank you. Thank you for your dedication, the blessing of your presence on this earth. That's what I wanted to reflect on. I don't really
Thank
have
you.
any questions because I'm just like happy to be here.
Thank you.
So
I'm encouraged, and I appreciate your kind words.
yeah, such beautiful words, such beautiful energy, Shraddhanjali. I'd like to ask, just because you brought it up, it's something came up for me. You mentioned how if you haven't, been in a kirtan in an ashram or in the streets. So like for me, I'm very comfortable being at an ashram or being like in a kind of like a private setting doing kirtan, but all of a sudden when it goes out on the streets, there again that insecurity comes up of like doing this thing, dressed a certain way, maybe some
Yeah.
tilak, and so that. But clearly, Shraddhanjali, you've embodied this. Clearly, Sri Prahlad has, and many others. Is that maybe a question for you, Prahlad? Is this the same? is this the same practice that we're talking about when you go up on stage and you're just there to serve? Is that when we go out kirtan in the streets, it's like not worrying, is like somebody going to see me? It's like, how can we serve? Is that the mood for participants of the kirtan also?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And joy.
So, mhm. Yeah. Once, when I was traveling in the Soviet, well, it was as the Soviet Union was dissolving, I was traveling in a lot of those countries, and we would come to places, to communities that didn't have the instruments or didn't have the facilities that you would usually have in an ashram to hold these event like kirtan and so on. And I made a decision to myself, whatever it is, whatever they have, it's going to be wonderful. And whatever the moment, whatever they have or don't have, we're going to bring our heart and we're going to engage. And they were some of the best kirtans, some of the best programs. Yeah, with, maybe using a pot rather than a drum, or a bucket, a pot lid rather than cymbals. So.
Oh, it's so funny you said that, because I was remembering being in with our kids in kirtan, and we didn't have enough kartals or anything, and we got the metal pot, saucepan with the spoon.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So it really comes down to intention, it sounds like.
Really, yeah. Those were some of the best. There's grace. It's intention, but it's grace, right? It's mercy that is being offered. Okay. And so when you place yourself there in service and with prayer, then there's reciprocation. You can't force it. You can't make it happen, so to speak. You place yourself there and you appeal, and then you may be answered.
I love it. Thank you both for sharing. It gives those of us newer something to look forward to, something to aspire to. But let's send some love. Remind us, Shraddhanjali, where you're calling in from again.
I'm calling in from Iowa on the banks of the Mississippi River, and my husband is Kalachandji Das, who is the editor for Giriraj Swami, and he wrote the Ayendra book. I don't know if anyone has heard of that. So,
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've been practicing for decades. Not well, but as much as we can.
Amazing. I love it. I used to live in Iowa years ago. I worked for John Deere. I was an engineer for John Deere, so I was in Dubuque. But good times there. Well, let's send our love, gratitude, Shraddhanjali, representing the great state of Iowa. And I think we got time for one more here. Madhu Mangala Prabhu. Welcome to Bhakti Yoga Conference. Welcome back.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Dandavats from Mexico. I do have a question for Prahlad Prabhu, but first I just wanted to thank you, Happy Jack Prabhu, for facilitating this, and also for making that question about how to get out of your mind. And when I do feel nervous a lot of times. I am actually a teacher too, and an artist, and I've never been able to get over the nerves. And this idea that Prabhu Prahlad just shared about making it as an offer and switching attention from oneself to how to serve the others, and attention to the persons you're sharing your art with, it just hit me very deeply, and I never heard it like that. And I'm really looking forward to making that like a practice from now on. So I want to thank you both for sharing that. It was very valuable for me. And the question I have is, what advice would you give to family? Me and my wife were starting making kirtans here once a month. We're in Mexico, in Los Cabos. There's no temple here, but we're starting to put together a community to read Bhagavad Gita and share kirtan. And what advice would you give to a couple of beginners that are musically inclined, but yeah, we're just starting and we want to make things right?
Yeah, thank you so much for expressing your appreciation that some of these ideas have landed with you and that you're inspired. That helps me. To your specific question, my humble suggestion is that the most important thing is that you and your wife, you said you're both musicians, that you enjoy the practice, that you relish the opportunity to chant and to serve as you do, and invite people into that joy. So don't judge your success based on who came or who didn't come, or whether it's 2 people or 3 people or 10 or 15. Let's start with, we are here to serve, and we are experiencing the joy of bhakti. 2 of us, and now 3, and now 4, and now 5. So each other soul that joins the circle of joy expands. But it's not dependent on whether there's another 5 or 10 or however many people, 3 people there. It starts with you and your wife being in joy, in service, in bhakti. And when you're experiencing that joy and service, then other people will want to join. But if you're anxious about a performance, then they might feel, it will be a different experience for them. So the starting point is the 2 of you, and enjoy yourself and invite people into that, rather than thinking you need an audience to be successful.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I arrived a little bit late to listen to the biography, but by any chance, are you Sri Prahlad from Village of Peace?
I am, yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is the best. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Madhu Mangala. Now you've reciprocated, because that question was so helpful for me. Like, just enjoy the process. Oh my goodness. And whether there's 1 person or 10 people, whatever, like, just enjoy and relish it. And it then doesn't matter, right? We're not attached to the outcome. Like, so that was such a great question and so helpful for me. So let us send our love, gratitude, blessings to our brother Madhu Mangala down in Los Cabos, Mexico. Wow. Such a gift to have you here with us today, Sri Prahlad. As we wrap up here, final words, what would you've kind of given us some, but what would you leave us with as we step into the rest of our day and this spiritual journey of bhakti?
Yeah, you already asked me for a final blessing reflection, but okay. Here's a little secret. When we choose to hand ourselves over to divine grace, it changes everything in life. I'm going to leave that hanging. I'm not going to explain it. But when we make that choice and we make that offering, everything changes.
As you said that, every cell in my body just like woke up. And it brought me right back. It only happened one other time when I was in the Ganga River. And so there's something about what you just said. There's something in that. And so we're going to have to go back and listen and reflect on that. Prabhu, thank you so much for your time. Such a gift. And everybody for being here, everybody who's watching, thank you for being a part of this journey, walking the path of love together. We've got another session on the top of the next hour at Danyariko, another beautiful soul. But until then, get outside, get some fresh air, take care of your babies, take care of your responsibilities, and we'll be back here again soon. Hare Krishna.
Thanks for having us.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.